LAUSD is in a budget battle, and I want to try to summarize it, but also give a nuanced analysis. And I want to say that it's going to be a long video, so if that's not what you want, you can swipe on. I only know what I know, and I'm trying to know more. And a lot of people, I know that this stirs very strong emotions for. And so I am trying to choose to be as kind as possible. And I ask for that in return because I am very sensitive. And so if you are looking for a place to vent rage, there are rage baity content creators out there and you can go flood their comments. So my facts that I'm gathering are a lot from LAist, LA Times, LAUSD's own website, and some others as well that I found. It's a very simple Googling. If you Google for like 30 minutes or an hour, right, I think this will find the same things. The givens that most people can agree on is that the school district is in a negative delta, right? That it is spending more than it is making. And the school district is not part of LA City. LAUSD is its own thing. COVID funds are ending. This is a big thing, that the federal COVID funds are ending. Enrollment is dropping and it is not coming back anytime soon. Now, numbers are kind of in dispute, but these seem to be the ones that people are agreeing upon. That the overall LAUSD budget is $18.8 billion per year, and that there is $5 billion in reserve. And I've had in a lot of my comments in the other video, people saying $5 billion, that's so much money. And it is a lot of money in one sense, but it is not in another sense. And this is part of the problem of numbers getting this big. It is hard to really fathom. So, for instance, LAUSD, the 2024 to 2025 school year is already at a $1.5 billion deficit. And there's no turning back on that. That is done and past, it is gone. That is just what happened. And a lot of that was the drop in the federal COVID funding. 85% of LAUSD funds actually come from the state of California. So even though it is LAUSD, the funding for it is part of our greater involvement in the state of California. And because of that, the governor's budget proposal that people are looking at, is this going to happen, may cut $5 billion over a period of time for LAUSD. So that $5 billion in reserve does look like a lot when you look at it from the perspective of like teacher salaries, but when you look at it from that statewide perspective, it doesn't look like as much. Now, here are some of the assumptions in the story of LAUSD that I am working with. And so if you do not hold to these assumptions, then you will probably disagree with a lot of the other things that I'm saying, and we can debate that, but these are the ones I'm working with. LAUSD is a antique at this point. It was founded in 1961 for both noble and ignoble reasons. The ignoble one, I joke with my 13-year-old all the time, is, wow, it's whenever they complain about things at school, they're like, why is it this way? And I'm like, wow, it's almost like the system was not designed to make healthy adults. It was designed to replace slave labor. And she always, and then she laughs at that because it's like, it makes sense when you're like, oh, the history of the United States, right? 1961, we're talking Cold War era. But man had not yet walked on the moon. But there was also noble aspirations, which is part of the reason why LAUSD is so big, is because LA as an identity is very segregated. Now, I know a lot of LA people don't like to talk about this, but as somebody that came from Houston, I came to LA with very high hopes of integration, and I was very disappointed. LA is very, very segregated, and we don't like to talk about it. And part of having this big unified school district is integration, is saying we don't want to be segregated. Now, our present moment, here's one of the things that I operate with that a lot of people, I think, feel and understand but don't articulate. That the current culprit in our world that we are all struggling with is financial cancer. There are certain individuals or very small groups of people that are sucking up the currency that is meant to flow healthily through all the people. And they are getting big and fat, and they are sucking the life out of everybody else. That is a battle that is much bigger, that is much, much bigger. Now, when we think about the future is that cell phones, internet, this thing that you're watching me on, it is not going away. We are not going back to the days of pen and paper. The other thing with the future is that old people are living longer and less people are having less kids. And that is not going to change. And I think for me, one of the things that I feel, and I feel like most people feel, especially on the internet, is that the country is fracturing, that there is stress, not just in our country, I think in a lot of countries, maybe in perhaps the whole world, there is fracturing right now. And these lines of identity and who do we see as our people, that is dividing. Now, so because of that, the problem is everybody's cutting, right? The federal government is cutting, the state government is cutting, and so now the local government is cutting. And the thing is, at some point, there has to be a certain level group of humanity that says, even though they're cutting up there, we will not cut down here. We will sacrifice down here. There are things that the state of California can do. I have proposed a dual currency system, and so if you want to see my other videos on that, you can. Increasing taxes on the rich and corporations that bring in H-1B visa people to do high-skilled jobs and therefore don't have to care about local education. We could tax those people. But the thing is, I don't have power there. You watching this probably don't have power there. We do have power in the sense that we can vote and we should be paying attention to those votes. And I will talk a little bit about that later. But on a local level, what is being done, because that is where our voices can be heard. One thing that I've learned from here is that if you show up to these meetings, you can talk to these people, right? You can talk to the superintendent, you can talk to these people in person. And so what can we do? Well, right now it feels like the proposals on both sides they're both missing things that we've just established. The LAUSD proposal, especially in cutting IT staff, it just feels like sacrificing the future, right? Like we're teaching our kids 1990s education style in 2026. And especially when I observe education in other places in the world, specifically in East Asia, ooh, man, we are behind, right? And that feels like not the right direction. But as well, I think the teachers union, and I support teachers unions. I support teachers unions. I strike with teachers unions. It does feel like wishful thinking that this will all like somehow change, right? No, the enrollment numbers are not going to come back. And right now, I think the Fed and the state are not coming to help. So what does that mean? Well, first, I think for me, it means taking a look and stepping back and rethinking what school as a concept even is. I would say right now in America, but in LAUSD, the way that most people have an attitude towards school is that schools are sanctuaries for students in the midst of an unsafe world. These schools are run by the teachers and they are preparing students for adult jobs. Most of the time when people start actually talking about schools, when you hear the jokes they say, most people have these kind of agreements. But the thing is, all three of those can be rewritten. We don't have to have schools be those things. There are places in the world where schools are not like these walled off things, but they are hubs for the local community. They're integrated into the local community. There are many places in the world, in schools that I've seen, especially like in East Asia, where upper grades, especially, it's different for elementary school, but upper grades, teachers function more like college professors. They don't have their own rooms. They don't have their own little kingdoms. They go room to room where the students are. They teach subjects. They leave. It functions more like that. And let's face it, when it comes to preparing students for adult jobs, I think we can all See now, the adults don't know what we're doing. Like, we don't know what we're doing, right? Prepare them from what? An AI future, right? Like, we don't really have the credibility anymore to tell our young people that we have this plan and the plan's gonna work great. So, if we start to deconstruct these things, then what do we reconstruct school into? What makes a good school? Um, is it test scores? Is it rich neighborhoods? Is it college acceptance letters? Why do we not evaluate schools by local volunteers, by emotionally happy and healthy kids, or emotionally happy and healthy teachers? And part of that is when we come down now, right? We've talked about the city level to the individual level. And this is the core question. The core question is this: who is my neighbor? Who is your neighbor? And I am embarrassed. I will be honest. I am embarrassed deeply in making this because I want to believe in these things that I'm saying so much. But I am embarrassed because I take advantage of the charter system, the charter magnet system. And I drive my kids because I have the privilege of both myself being able to drive and having grandparents that live with me, that we can drive our kids to charter in a magnet school. And I drive past my local school. In fact, I drive past, I think, like 3 local schools to go to this school. Now, I have personal reasons for that. My kids have special interests that they want to pursue, and that is the benefit of charter magnet system. But I still feel that guilt and that pain. Now, I try to assuage that by volunteering as much as I can, but could I give more? Yeah. But right now, I'm also trying to heal myself. I'm trying to build my own career. I feel the financial squeeze too. And so that question then becomes, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? And then on top of that, I have visited private schools. Have you visited a private school? Oh my gosh. It is so enticing. It is so much better. Like, it is so much better. Like, you just know it's so much better. That for me, if I thought, man, if I could get my kids in, if they could be blessed with financial aid, and all I would have to do is bear a little bit of religious indoctrination, would I abandon my local LAUSD school? I probably would. And so, as I say these things, right, I struggle because I want to believe them, but to live out that belief is a different thing. And so, then when I can work on that dissonance, and as I work on that dissonance, then that is what will help me and what I'm doing now to push out into those greater dissonances in our local, in our state, in our federal. Um, I think there are, if we rethink what schools are, what they could be, if we could reimagine the culture of what school is, I think that there are a lot of ways forward that we don't need their help. Like, we don't need the state or the federal to come and save us. Schools as community areas. Again, we already kind of do this, so we can streamline the process ourselves. School for old people. There's a lot of old people that complain about the local schools. And the funny thing is, there's already money allocated there, right? There's already money allocated there. My in-law, my marriage parents, they go to these events that are paid for by taxpayer money. So we could utilize schools for that and increase revenue that way. You could partner with LACC and have campus classes, especially for a lot of the schools that people are saying are not full. Like, they're empty rooms. And if they're empty rooms, then let's make use of them. But more than that, it is to make people care. To make people care that live nearby. I think one of the things that especially the pandemic showed us, proximity matters. The rules of space-time matter. The fact that a school is physically close to you should mean that you have some connection to that school. And how do we rebuild that culture where people will care about their school even if their kids don't go there? There are harder issues to tackle, of course. Um, a big part of a lot of this stuff is that teachers will lose power. Teachers, especially like high school, they may lose power over their classrooms, which is a very, very precious thing to a lot of teachers. And I have so many teachers friends to whom that is one of the most precious things, that they have this classroom that is their space. It means that teachers will the union will have to propose a way to fire bad teachers because the trust is not there enough. I personally, we had a teacher who was emotionally abusive. And it was so bad that I had to fight to pull my child out of that class because this teacher was causing emotional harm and stress to my child. And the school, they're still teaching. That teacher is still there. And almost every LAUSD parent I know, by the time their kids have finished through high school, has had that same story. That is a problem. That is a fundamental problem that needs to be fixed. But if it works, if it works, then the benefit should be that teachers get more money. Right now, teachers have power over their little kingdoms, but they're not making enough money. So hopefully the bargain is surrender some power, here's more money. And I hope that it will be a fair exchange. But as we're seeing, the thing of where it starts is you and me, right? At some point, individuals have to make this choice that says, I belong to some kind of community. I belong to these places and these people, even if I don't have financial interest in it. Are we ruled by our love for humans, or are we ruled by our love for money? Because at some point it becomes who's gonna volunteer? And this is a question that is age old through humanity. At some point, who's gonna volunteer? Because that's where the bleeding stops. That is why I am doing this. I am volunteering my time to make this awfully long video, and I did awfully a lot of preparation for it, and I've thought a lot about it because to me it's important. But it also means I volunteer my money and my time. My kids' drama rehearsal had no money for snacks, and these are middle schoolers at the end of a school day trying to do a rehearsal, and I was like, I am gonna buy them good snacks and I'm gonna drop them off because then at least they will have some calories and happiness, and they deserve that. I've heard people, when I was in the office dropping off snacks, I heard this person who was complaining about the traffic because they lived nearby, and I was like, volunteer to do traffic duty. I heard a person complaining at a local city council meeting once that the street by the school was dirty, and I'm like, grab a broom grab a broom and go sweep and get a bag and clean it up yourself. At some point we have to just volunteer, not because it will make us rich, not because it makes us money, but because we're part of a larger macro organism that is humanity, because we love each other. And that is one of my hopes. I think one of my hopes is that old people are an underutilized resource, right? One of those factors we talked about, old people are living longer and there are less kids. There should be more old people volunteering in schools, right? Like, oh my God, like that would be so healing to our society. And a lot of LA schools, right? Like they're in these areas of old people that used to have kids, but because of our system cannot move. And I'm tired of people complaining about it. Like, let's just love each other. Let's just love each other. And maybe we can make some kind of change. I don't know. I hope so. I'm trying. That's my spiel. Oh my God, this is so long.